This program is produced by Eagle Mountain Apostolic Resource Center. To find additional episodes of this program, as well as other content, visit eaglemountain.tv.
I found the devil.
The devil?
I found him.
Really? Is this him?
No.
In this wheelchair?
No. He's over here in this bucket. I kid you not. There he is. Mr. Sin!
Oh my
Not
goodness.
bothering us anymore.
And I remember her saying, okay, you're going to play Mr. Sin today. And she hands me this purple puppet with a nasty mustache. Pop the little puppet up, and literally on cue, 80 kids out there all, boo, no, God, I hate that guy. I was like, man, these guys are trained on cue. Like, I don't know if they got candy for doing that or what. But
Oh, man. They just want to come down on
deep
someone. I
theological
guess.
teaching. Deep theological teaching.
Well, hello again. This is Together We Build. My name is Chris Behnke. I'll be hosting this. Actually, I don't even know if I'm hosting it. We're co-hosting it together
Anything
simultaneously.
that goes wrong, we'll blame him. That's what the host gets.
It's all fake news. It's
I think you just want to hear that.
It is slightly amusing. My name is Chris Behnke. This is Prudence O'Hare. And if you found this, you have come to the right place. This is absolutely where you need to be right now. So, if you don't know what it is, this is an amazing show that we have been doing now. We're almost to the end of a second season. It's been absolutely fantastic. And it's weekly. And we're excited about it.
Are you saying we've been doing this for 2 years?
No, I said seasons, not years.
Oh.
A season, at least the way we do it at Eagle Mountain TV, is 26 episodes. 26 episodes. So if you do the math, that is 6 months. So there you have it. There you have it, everyone. But what we do is we do this trivia, and we're doing food trivia. And I stumbled upon 300 some odd questions that get harder and harder and harder. So are you ready?
I'm just massaging these little feet that can't feel
I don't
it.
even want to know what you got going on there. You want to explain to all of the viewers what this is? It looks like a rubber hobbit
Well, we
foot.
talked about these in the last
actually
episode.
strangely morbid.
Well, they're just little puppet feet.
Okay. Anyways, we're moving on. We definitely don't want to talk about those weird feet anymore. So let's hit this off. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What distilled alcoholic spirit has an English name derived from a diminutive form of the Slavic word for water? In essence, this means the word can be interpreted as...
It's vodka. Is it vodka?
Yes, it is.
And I don't even drink, and I know this.
Nice job. Excellent. Dramatically different from today's sweet fruit associated with summertime, what large fruit was cultivated for hundreds of years simply for hydration purposes rather than food?
Hydration. Coconut?
Watermelon.
Well, that would have been my second guess.
Yeah, well, it wasn't your first guess, which is what it requires.
Well, I mean, coconuts have juice in them.
Second place
like,
is
you just like
second
drink.
place is just the first loser.
Which, by the way,
All right.
coconut juice in and of itself is not that great tasting.
Here we go. Ready? There's a specific snack often associated with a type of entertainment venue. This snack has been created for thousands of years, but the accessibility increased rapidly in the 1890s with the invention of a dedicated machine. The snack is made
Popcorn? Yes. You hear this? These little feet clapping. Can we just get the sound of it pitter-pattering on your head?
Okay, this is getting strange. As of 2019, what food brand offers different filters on its website for Chunky, Chunky Max, Slow Kettle Style, and Kid Fun?
Okay, one more time on the
Okay,
question.
So as of 2019, there's a food manufacturer who has on its website a way to sort products
Okay.
with a filter, like a drop down to select different things.
Yeah.
A filter for Chunky, Chunky Max, Slow Kettle Style, and Fun Kid, or Kid Fun. Don't get it wrong.
So am I supposed to guess the food?
You're supposed to guess the brand name,
Oh, brand name.
company name.
Oh, that's irritating. Quit slurping like that.
Get an answer, or are you trying to stall? What is that?
This is what my brain is feeling right now.
What is that? Snort?
Yeah, it's snort.
A Bigfoot snort? Okay, you have 3 seconds to guess. 3, 2,
Okay.
1.
Taffy. Taffy.
That's the brand name, Taffy.
Don't know. No. I give up.
Incorrect. It's Campbell's.
Campbell's.
Okay, what popular condiment would you use as a base for remoulade or tartar sauce?
Okay.
Some of these words I don't
Say it
know,
again.
by the way. What popular condiment would you use as a base for tartar sauce?
Horseradish?
The base?
Yeah.
Mayonnaise, babe.
Oh,
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
You're not doing well, by the way. You're not doing
I
well.
got like 2 wrong.
Okay, here we go. We used to eat at this place when we were first married. What American fast casual restaurant? Fast casual? I love that. What American fast casual restaurant, formerly known as Boston Chicken, was founded in Newton, Massachusetts in 1984?
This was Boston Market.
There's a TV sitcom focused on a bar that stood on Boston's Beacon Street for decades. There's also recreation of the bar in a Boston food hall that closed in 2020 after 20 years of operation.
Okay, give me the letter it starts with.
The TV show name
Yeah.
and bar starts with C.
It's on the tip of my head.
Why do you have the feet? The feet are slowing you down. Those feet are preventing you from getting this answer. Jason is definitely trying to cheat.
You totally gave me
We
the
have
answer.
a monitor down
I
here.
was
We have an
this
enormous
close to
TV
getting
screen
it.
that's supposed to only
This close.
show the clock. It's supposed to only show our time.
Yeah.
But sometimes Jason cheats and puts the answers so that Prudence cheats.
I would have guessed it had I been given at least a half hour to think of it.
The answer is
Cheers, obviously.
cheers, obviously. Okay, what is the only fruit with seeds on the outside?
The only fruit with seeds on the outside.
Come on. We don't
I'm
have
thinking.
time. You're wasting. you see those
It's a
seconds?
raspberry. Oh, that's a berry. That's not a fruit.
I'll give you one more guess if you can do it in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
A
5.
banana.
But what's on the outside of a banana?
You rushed
Peeling.
me. You rushed
Appealing.
me.
Strawberry.
Oh, hey, well, that's a berry, not a fruit.
It's actually a fruit that's called a berry.
Oh,
Kind of like a tomato is called a vegetable, but we all know it's a fruit. It's kind of a crappy fruit. There's a dessert. Last question. There's a dessert
tomatoes.
with slightly mysterious origins. Is it from France, Spain, England? We don't know. That is also known as burnt cream or Trinity cream. It famously has a custard base.
It's a
topped
brulee. It's a
with
brulee.
layer of
Caramel
hardened
brulee.
caramelized
or is it flan?
sugar. What is
It's a
it?
brulee.
What kind of brulee?
Caramel brulee.
You're
brulee.
thinking of the right thing, but your words are wrong.
Butter brulee, burnt brown butter brulee, caramelized in the middle.
Cream brulee.
Okay, but I think I got it.
You did not get it.
Mostly.
Caramel brulee is not even remotely cream brulee. You have failed in your task. And you love that dessert.
Yeah.
That dessert does not love you back.
No, it doesn't. I mean, considering it makes my pants too small.
It's caramel. No, I'm saying it.
Yeah,
like a
you're
doofus.
saying it.
Creme brulees.
It's creme brulee.
Are against pants everywhere.
Yes. Anti-pants. You know what? Never mind. This is not going
Okay, let's get
anywhere.
to the task
Would
at
you
hand.
stop
What is
pushing
this-
that cheers button? And had
What
I
is-
put it
No.
over here, it could have given me the answer, and Jason wouldn't have had to cheat.
Because it says cheers. on
Yeah.
it? Absolutely not. The button is staying over here where it needs to be. It's
Okay.
for sure not moving. So, what is this episode about?
All right. So we're talking about the power of testimonies and just how important they are to
The power
us,
of testimonies.
to each other. And we'll just talk about some of the different ways that we can document our lives and what that looks like. So testimonies is a witness, like if you were to define it, declaration, affirmation. It's saying that you were around for something and that you watched something happen or you experienced that something as an eyewitness.
You witnessed it with your eye.
Yeah. Well, you went through it or you were a part of it in some way. So, so I think that every single one of us, we all have testimonies of something. And because our lives are also vastly different, and yet at the same time, we have many commonalities with each other.
Yeah.
So I think that it's kind of like we have a lot of commonalities, and then we have this splash of unique testimonies that happen because the Lord loves all the different things and the ways. Like he is so creative in the way that he presents to us in our lives and in the way that he has designed us all to live different ways and in unique ways.
Yeah.
So we all have the testimonies of something, but when it's all summed up, and if we're, leading lives that are following Christ, it's all going to point back to him and how his goodness came through, no matter what circumstance we were in. And as we were talking about previously in the last episode about faith,
Yeah.
how sharing our testimonies with each other is actually very important. It's a way to connect with the different generations. It's a way to help build out somebody else's faith. It's a way to install and infuse hope into the world. So when we have a testimony of God's goodness and how that worked out for us, then it's going to really help other people keep going.
Yeah.
Because they're listening. If they're not to the end of their trial and have that piece of testimony that is packaging it all up,
Right.
then they need encouragement in that process to keep going. So
Right.
it's important for us to share with each other about how God was there for us through it all. And of course, it can also be very entertaining for each other. Some of us have crazy stories.
Entertaining.
It is. We
Yeah.
love to hear other people's life stories about how something happened that was magnificent or huge. And you're just, your eyes are all big and you're like, wow, if the Lord did that for you, he could do it for me too.
Totally.
Or what kind of new creative way is he going to use to come through for us? And also, when we're in the process of living out that story that develops into the testimony, and we're in that process, we actually should have an attitude and a posture of expectancy that's going to close with something, with God's goodness showing through.
Yeah.
Somehow.
You're saying the testimony allows us to enter in the situation with an expectancy we didn't earn.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. I think I understand what you're saying.
You're saying that the testimony of someone else, we get to borrow what they did and what they went through, in a sense, to give ourselves a boost in confidence and faith.
Yes. But also testimonies can help us learn things so we don't have to repeat the same mistakes.
You don't like repeating?
I do not like repeating the same mistakes.
It's kind of an adventure, right?
I see more point in making our working through our own new mistakes than repeating somebody else's. So, we really wouldn't know what has happened in the past without testimonies. Isn't that really what history really is? Is the eyewitnesses that have encapsulated what has happened in the past and rolled it out, put it down. They took the time to document things.
So essentially, testimony is history. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think testimony is just like some story of victory, but it's really just the history, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the Bible is like, it's full of testimonies. It's full of people that have lived through those stories, and they're not fallacy. I saw this one guy who was going on and on about how all the stories in the Bible are completely false. They're just fables. And that's not true. And it kind of, made my little justice meter just kind of get mad.
Let's be honest. You were ticked. You were You were like
Anyway.
this. You were like this guy.
Look, there's how many authors? Like
We got to
40?
explain what that is, because I just introduced the
Yeah, this is
Bigfoot
my emergency
roar.
Bigfoot. It's got howl, snort, roar, and groan, but that is a
So
distraction.
you just got to roar.
So what I'm saying is that, is it about 40 different authors of scripture? But
Yes.
and
Let
that's
me look
just
up the exact number.
And that's just the men who wrote those pieces that were
40.
chosen.
Correct. 40. You're right.
For
approximately.
that canon. And there's like zillions more of like testimonies that didn't even make it into the canon that we now call the Holy Bible. But that's aside from the fact, like, these guys watched things happen. They saw them, they wrote them down for our benefit, So, and this also, of course, happens in history. This is the autobiographies, the biographies, the ographies. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but I just reduced it a little bit
ographies?
more. But
I don't even know where you're going with this. The
So-
biographies.
how do testimonies help us? Okay, so they give us information about what happened. We already talked about this, so we can avoid making the same mistakes.
Yes.
They encourage us to keep going and trying when we hear about the fruit in someone else's lives. So
encouragement.
It gives encouragement. Yeah. I mean, what if in the way that we live, what if we never talked to people and heard how they made it through something? Like what a incredibly hard, unnecessary, difficult lives we would all live if we never shared with each other. Right?
Yes.
So we're being unselfish, actually, when we share with other people our stories of hope, our stories of survival, our stories of where the Lord came through.
It reminds me of Roger Bannister. Do you remember who Roger Bannister is? Mm-mm. Roger Bannister is the first person to break the 4-minute mile. In May 6th, 1954, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. What's interesting about that is up until he broke the 4-minute mile, he was believed to be physically and scientifically impossible for a human to go faster than 4 minutes for a mile. So it was just impossible. It was absolutely impossible. And then on May 6th, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. And then since immediately after that, like within a month or two, someone else did, and then someone else and someone else. Let me just see how many people have broken the 4-minute mile. So as of now, there are 1,755 athletes since 1954 that have all broken the 4-minute mile. So the power of Roger Bannister's testimony, I have done it. It is possible. You can do it. I did it. It actually is possible. Before that, scientists were giving a testimony that it was not possible. The human body could not surpass a 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
And after he did that, his testimony was so powerful that since then, 1,755 athletes have broken it. It is the standard of professional middle distance in several cultures and is an Olympic thing that happens all the time.
It's crazy. So that kind of rolls into the next point of how testimonies help us. And they help us to build faith when ours is non-existent or weak. And in that case, it was non-existent, really.
Non-existent. And even worse than that, this isn't possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Records
so
were made to be broken, Prudence.
How many inventors and creators in the past have broken these barriers and infused by their own testimony and success and the fruit of what they have shared with the world, hope and inspiration for the next generations or even their colleagues around them that have also been like, oh my goodness.
That reminds me of Colonel Sanders, founded KFC. He was in his 50s and was rejected by 1,009 times before someone said yes to using his recipes, which started Kentucky Fried Chicken. So think about the testimony of all of the people that have studied his life that have now launched businesses. There's no way to really know the statistic that maybe wouldn't have without the power of that testimony.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's been documented so we can all read it. It's shareable. Or even Edison. He worked and worked and worked on that light bulb. And look what we've got shining on our faces right now. Because he wouldn't give up. He knew that there was a way to do it, and he kept going.
Yes. I was going to look up how many times.
It's like
2,774 attempts.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say 10,000 different ways to not make a light bulb, but actually it was 2,774 incorrects before discovering a certain kind of bamboo to make the light bulb filament. Anyways, doesn't matter. The point is those testimonies of those people, younger people have studied those and have done incredible things on the earth because of the trials that those two men and many others,
those pioneers, they're pioneers,
have gone through.
Yeah. But you know what if these men, especially in these great areas, what if they would have never talked about how they had so many trials?
Yeah, because it's kind of embarrassing to get denied 1,000.
What if they just were successful and then they just didn't share the hard parts that they had to go through?
Yeah.
You know, that really takes the heart out of the testimony, because we're all going through the trials. We're all going through the stretching, and we need to know that everybody else is like, we're not special in that, because it makes us feel better. Right?
Completely.
So, all right. So it is, testimonies help us in a way that it's a way for us to know who someone else is or was. So what would happen if nobody ever documented people's lives in the past? Mm-hmm. What would we have from the past?
Well, we would definitely make a lot more mistakes, right? Because we wouldn't be able. You mean like I can't even tell stories, or?
Yeah, like what if
Well, we wouldn't be able to advance as a culture at all.
No, it's crazy. It's
It'd be
crazy.
worthless.
But also on a more personal level, let's talk about grandparents, parents, aunts and uncles, or celebrity figures and things like that. But even just like grandparents, like leaving a legacy of documentation of who they were to the next generation. I mean, yes, we have stories that can be passed down, but encapsulating those stories in the different ways that we get to nowadays used to be just, you know, somebody's going to write out their own story or they have a scribe or something. But now there's many different ways to be able to do this. And I think it's important for us to know who our grandparents were. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it takes a bit on our part to not be selfish with that.
Yeah.
Because it's really kind of an unselfish task to be able to document things.
You mean for
to
the
want
person
to want to personally
document
yes.
their testimonies for future people, they have to actually do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
they do.
Yep. Which is work, actually.
It is work.
And a lot of times you're admitting stuff.
Yeah.
That you had shortcomings.
So it can also be entertaining and useful in teaching. Everyone lives different lives. So we get a lot of enjoyment about hearing about other people's lives and the stories and the exciting adventures, even if they did doctor it up a little bit while telling you. You'd never know. You're never going to know that snake didn't have 7 eyes.
I mean, I don't think they have 7 eyes, babe.
No, they don't.
Oh.
Luckily, they don't.
Just checking.
I would be wigging out if they did. 2 is plenty for snakes.
You're kind of wigging out even with the 2 eyes.
All right. So this kind of tags along to the previous one. It's leaving something behind when we die that can be valuable to future generations. And not even thinking that it's just for your immediate family, but if you think of like leaving your testimony to your family, just like one person can transform many people's lives. So if you're affecting, say you just have like 1 or 2 grandkids even, and you're like, well, what, that's not a big deal. Right. Like just me doing that. Well, hold on a second. Look at all of the people, just the one person that have set the world on fire because of inspiration and encouragement and the testimonies of other people. So don't ever think that, you know, you and your testimony isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that isn't up to you to decide.
It's interesting that you say that too, because I think a lot of times we get in this little thing, and I don't know if this is from the enemy or what, but I haven't really thought this through, but it's kind of like, well, what does it matter? Well, who cares? No one cares. No one cares what I think. But actually, like, we have no idea what is gonna, like, who's gonna learn from it in the future. It reminds me of art. Most of the greatest artists that have had the greatest impact on art in all of history didn't have any success until they were dead. So they didn't have any success. Like, they had no success. but they're the greatest artists that ever lived. So I think to just look at the scenario and then make a judgment on whether or not it's important based on this, what we see around us, just in the, immediate, would be foolish. What if these people did that? What if, I don't know who they are, but what if the Michelangelos and the Van Goghs and the Picassos of the world, I don't know if all those guys died before their stuff was famous, but for sure, a lot of people like that, household names now, had zero success before they were dead. So what if they had used what was happening around them in the immediate as the gauge on whether or not to continue their craft? That we wouldn't have had their art.
Well,
they would have bailed on it.
I think that within our creativity and the pieces that are in us, which everybody has them in some form or fashion, you are built with that creativity trigger. We do that because we love it. You keep moving in that because you love it. And that's what you were designed to do. And I think that these men, these artists, they may have died penniless. I don't know. But they were doing what
Bach
they did
died before
because
being
they
famous.
loved what they did. They were driven because of the purpose they felt behind it.
But if they had bailed because they looked around them and said it doesn't matter anyway? Henry David Thoreau,
Yeah.
Emily Dickinson,
So
Vincent van Gogh.
it's
I mean, these are just some of these ones that died before anyone.
Yeah, and it's leaving something behind when we die that can be valuable to future generations, even if you don't see it right now. You may not be able to realize that
Well,
in your life
the
on
thing
Earth.
about testimony is that it's probably very difficult, even if you do get to see the people that you're affecting with your testimony, it's probably very difficult to ever measure or quantify the value of it, especially while you're alive, but really ever. Right? Like, that's a wrong way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like, I think the way you're talking about it is very important for us to get our hands around. Make sure you guys really understand what Prudence is talking about, because if we try to weigh the value of our testimony based on what we see, I would guess that virtually always we're going to undervalue what God is really doing with our testimony. Because we just don't get to see a lot of that. We don't have insight into all the different ways the Lord
What is
uses
it
our stuff.
that the wise man in October said to you? He said, you never know who it is that you're influencing by what you do and what you say.
Yes. He said, well, boys, and he was talking to me and a friend of mine. He said, you never know who you're actually influencing, is what he said.
Because he himself had influenced you.
And didn't know it.
And didn't
even know who
No.
I was.
Nope.
He didn't know he was influencing somebody that was married to somebody with rubber Bigfoot feet on their desk. He had no idea that was happening.
We're all different, Chris.
Some of us are more
All right.
different.
So I want to touch bases on scribes, because scribes were a part
Define
of...
scribe.
Scribes, yes. So I got this from Wikipedia, but they were important all through the past, especially when people didn't know how to write, or in royalty, they did their part in documenting what had happened in that jurisdiction and such. But the work of scribes can involve copying manuscripts and other texts, as well as secretarial, administrative duties such as the taking of dictation and keeping of business, judicial, and historical records for kings, nobles, temples, and cities. So scribes in the ancient days, in the past, had very specific, they were very specific career of sort. So now we can all be our own scribes, essentially, because we're much more educated as a culture, And we have tons of different tools
Yeah. They
that
were
make
called
things
scriveners.
much
I just learned
easier.
that according to this Google search.
But
Scriveners.
scribing, just using the generic term, is an important part of our testimonies. Just really keeping track and documenting our life's journey. And we really, we've come a long way from the olden days of scribing with the feather pen and ink pot. Or even just, it transformed into like a typewriter, and the typewriter was a big deal when it came out.
You leaped over the printing press, but that's fine.
Yes, the printing press and the typewriter. Was the typewriter second? I don't know the order.
I think so.
Okay.
I can't imagine it was before.
So the printing press and then the typewriter, and now we're typing it on computers and talking into our phones. We've got TV and video, and as you say all the time, the internet never forgets. So we are essentially, when we put ourselves out there,
mid-1800s, babe.
when we put ourselves out there,
Way
we
later.
are delivering testimony and scribing to the world in a way that hasn't happened before. Like, all of this new technology is making things so much more easier to do this.
Yeah. So are you saying we have less of an excuse, or are you saying
Yeah, I
something-
am.
Yeah.
I'm saying we have less than an excuse. Like, this app,
But it's no
laps.
less more important.
Yeah, even like this app laps that I was talking about in the previous episode. It's basically just pictures, but you're documenting your life.
Call it the Instagram reboot.
Yeah, you're documenting your life in pictures, and people are watching, and they're just looking at the pictures of what is happening in your life. Like, we are literally able to scribe our life in just pictures. We don't even have to say anything. That's so weird. So anyway, moving on. These are some other ways that I personally document my life, and it might be helpful and practical for you. But I have kept a medical journal and a pet journal. It's all in one thick book, and I just labeled the different sections for the different family members. But each time we have gone to the doctor, I keep track of the date, who they saw, what was the problem, what was the prescription. And that way
When
we
you
have...
whip that out, doctor's always like, oh my goodness, this is a treasure trove of useless information that no one brings to their appointment.
Yeah, well, it's actually really important information, but it saves us a lot of grief in trying to figure out, well, I'm not sure when that happened.
Certainly does.
I just figure it's
Neat.
easier.
It's neato burrito.
It's easier on all of us. So, but it takes consistency, and it takes discipline to be able to keep journals like this. Okay. I also keep a regular journal. I have been doing since I was 15.
Define a regular journal.
This is just the part where you write down everything inside that you feel like you can't tell somebody else, or don't know how to articulate verbally, or you just want to document what has happened or what is happening. So it used to be, when I was 15, I used to keep track of like daily journals, and it wasn't very big, and it was, a lot of useless information, really. But now I don't have as much time anymore, but I do keep track of our lives and what is happening in them, right on down to journaling about my kids and where I think they are, what I've seen them doing, what they're interested in. And
It's pretty revealing, isn't it?
yeah, so I do that maybe once a month now, but it does take me a few hours to do it. but I feel like
So it's not a day by day thing.
It isn't a day by day thing,
Dear
but
Prudence.
there is like apps. I think our daughter uses one,
Oh yeah, she's got
Dailyo or something.
Dailyo.
Yeah,
She just bought the premium
yeah,
subscription.
and she
too.
seems to really enjoy
And
it.
She uses it,
Yeah,
which is pretty rad.
yeah. I've kept a journal for our kids throughout the years when they were much younger. This one wiser lady had come to our first a baby shower for our firstborn, and she gave me this little tiny book, and she's like, we always think that we're going to remember all of these cute things that they do, and we just don't. I mean, there's maybe a few that we do, but keep track of all of the things and write them down. So I did my best to try to do that throughout the years.
Yeah.
I think I did pretty good.
Yes, still doing.
But-
They still do ridiculous things that make it into the cute things book.
Yeah,
Even though they're all
and
older.
you know what? The kids absolutely love reading it
They love reading about
they're
themselves.
older
I'll tell you what.
and remembering those
Tell me a
times.
story about myself where I look really cute and adorable.
Yeah. I also do documenting and testimonies in the way of setting up the gifts blessing jar type
We got to
situation.
describe what that is, because some people may not know what a blessing jar is.
I ended up doing was going to like Hobby Lobby and buying a see-through lantern with a lid on it so you could see all inside it. But it's pretty. And I set it next to the front door so we would be sure to remember as we're coming and going to not forget about the documentation of the week or the day or something. Now, obviously, some things get overlooked, but I cut up little cards and little uniform papers, and we put down the ways that God has provided for us, the things that are good that happened, the things that we loved, things we're thankful for, and we always date it and who wrote it.
They're supposed to write their name, but they usually don't. But we can tell who it is by their own special flavor of bad handwriting.
Well, if I see, I'll put their name on it. But, and then at the end of the year, you get to go through that and sift through it, and you see all of these cool things that happened all through the year. And it's really incredible. And someday I'm going to do something really cool with it. I don't know if it'll be like an entire wall, but it'll be really, really awesome. And I think that a lot of us out there feel like we're not disciplined enough to write. And that's a fallacy. Mm-hmm. You can be disciplined to write if that's something that you want to do. Mm-hmm. Just like that app, Dailyo. It doesn't take very much time.
Right.
And I don't know much about that app, but I'm sure there's ways you can like get some printout or something from it.
There's all kinds of tools that
But
actually that are
even
helpful.
just like a couple sentences a day from how you felt, who you encountered, just exploring how to document your life in the way that is compatible to you. You can find a way to do it. It doesn't have to be hours on end. Mm-hmm. So you can also write things to your future self, write to your kids and send it into the future for their wedding day or graduation. When I had all of my 4 babies, within the first couple of weeks, I wrote to them as their newborn self. I wrote to them as they were grown, like 16, in between 16 and 18. And so I wrote them a letter, because I thought that's going to be special, especially if something happened to me and they didn't know me when they were that age. Mm-hmm. You know, how fantastic is it to get a letter from a parent that didn't make it to that age? That's like a serious gift, right? Mm-hmm. So we can do that to our children even today. We could write a letter to them when they're 50. Maybe we won't be around when they're 50. We don't know, because we don't actually know how long we're going to be surviving. But it's just a way to give a gift back to your children, even to your grandchildren. Like I don't have grandchildren yet, but wouldn't it be fun to write a bunch of declarations to our grandchildren that they can open up someday.
Yeah.
That we're sending on into the future.
Yeah, that's incredible. Declarations. I love that.
Let's see. Yeah. So, or even just inventing ways to send your kids or grandkids, if you have grandkids, even just now cards, just,
What's a just now card? Oh,
like today,
a card
present,
now,
present.
not a just now card.
Yeah.
I thought it was a thing called a just now card.
Well, maybe we should make it.
I like that. That's a good brand. A just now card.
So when you're writing into your journal, you can be as transparent as you want to be. One thing that you need to remember, though, when we write is anything we write can and will be read by people that we know.
Can and will be used against you.
So you always have to have that. And yeah, it really can. So just consider that. My kids are already like, man, Mom, when you die, I want to read all your journals.
Those little devils want to read it now, but.
Maybe we should put some things in there like, I know you're reading this right now. And
it's a little creepy. Prudence.
I know. I would do things like that.
It's a little weird.
Honestly, I settled an argument between two of my siblings from my journal of 20 years ago. This was a couple of years ago. They were arguing and bickering about some incident that had happened between them. And one of them said it never happened. The other one was like, no, it totally did. And then I got stuck in the middle of it. And I'm like, I might actually have that documented, because actually I didn't remember because it wasn't an incident that affected me directly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went back and found that incident.
And sure enough,
one of the siblings was correct in what had happened. And the other one was like left with his teeth hanging out, basically. Like,
you just revealed a lot by saying a gender.
That's okay. I have a couple. And
one of them was left with their teeth hanging out.
Yeah.
Show us what that looks like. Yep. That gets the cheer. Teeth hanging out.
So that's something interesting, that when we journal and document about life and what has happened, we can actually be witnesses and testimonies to things that maybe need to go back. Where else would we have found that information?
Yeah.
Where else?
I think often we don't recognize the weight of what we should be documenting for our testimony, because we're in the middle of it. It's just like the person that recommended to you, hey, document all the cute little things, because you think you're going to remember, but you won't. Because in the moment, you're like, I'll never forget this. That was so hilarious when they did the thing. But a lot of life happens, and your brain doesn't always remember as well as it used to.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
So what I hear you saying is we need to really take more seriously the weight of documenting our testimony.
Yeah. And I mean, really journaling is a good outlet to release our emotions. It's really healthy, especially when you don't know what to do with them or who to tell them to. It's a way of getting them out of you so you can move on to the next thing. Like, you feel emptied. Like, some of us go to therapists or counselors or something, and we do this verbally, but you can also do this in journaling format and documentation.
Right.
And I don't think that we need to worry about our past journals entries and how they reveal the hurt of what we went through. I think it's important for us to, especially future generations, to go and look at that and say, wow, I didn't know how much this hurt her. And look how far she came. Yeah. And even just you personally going back, like for me, going back into some parts of my journal is actually, it is upsetting to me because I remember those places of where
going back to
those places, those years of the pain and the turmoil and the confusion and everything that it encompassed. And just remembering those emotions helps me to just take a look at how God's goodness carried us through and it took us into a whole different place. But also more than that, I'm looking at that person that wrote all of that and thinking, I don't really recognize her.
You mean, and you're talking about yourself?
I'm talking about myself.
So you're saying that's how much life has happened.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking almost 30 years of journal. So going back, I am a totally different, almost a completely different person than who I was at 21.
Would the 21-year-old of you had these?
Well, probably. There are things that maybe wouldn't have changed.
That's what I thought. Just check.
The fun, entertaining, humorous parts. Okay. But the pieces of me that were severely judgmental or just ignorant on what scripture really said about something, like I can see that person and I'm like looking at it and I'm like, wow,
who was that?
Who was that? But it isn't something that I feel I need to destroy. I don't need to go and burn those pages.
So let's just talk about that for just a second. A lot of people say you should burn your old journals, especially if you've gone through a hard time. What do you think about that?
I don't agree with that.
Why is that?
Because the point and purpose for you documenting what you went through is for you to get it out of your system, first of all.
Yeah.
But to also have that testimony of where you were. Like all you have now is just a remembrance, like a memory kind of. And you can't, like, it's not a tangible format. It's literally like you're running off of your emotions. And if it was a traumatizing situation, an event, a lot of us are going to be pushing out things that,
we shouldn't. Or that somebody else desperately could benefit from our testimony.
Exactly. Right.
That's very good.
So that doesn't mean that you have to personally go and revisit it. It doesn't mean that, but it definitely, pain is a big part of our humanness, and we all go through it. We all have to walk through it on some level and many different places. It's not anything I don't think we need to be ashamed of. We don't have to be ashamed of the pain that we walked through.
Well, I mean, that's the whole refining fire part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is also a big part of our testimony is, that problem, the solution, and the outcome, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're erasing the problem, how is anybody supposed to apply the solution to themselves?
Well, I mean, they can't. I mean, the truth is it's not possible.
Okay.
The truth is that it is required. The testimony is required if you're going to actually do that.
Yeah. So I do a lot of typing now, but I also print it out and keep it in books because I'm afraid of the delete button on the computer. And also I like to handwrite for more personalization in certain journals where I'm talking directly to the Lord, or when I keep a personal journal of the words of prophecy that somebody has delivered to me. I like to handwrite that because I just feel it's more personalized touch. And words of prophecy, they are a thing, and God wants us to remember and grow into what he has said about us.
Yeah.
So documenting that is also a part of your testimony. Back here in the beginning, the Lord said this, and I could not see it.
Yeah.
Like it was so big, so overwhelming, so overstimulating that I just couldn't
even
see
rejected it.
I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, here you are. And it's like, okay, that was weird.
So I guess if we're to like summarize a lot of what you're saying is the testimony, you are never going to realize the weight of the testimony and the impact it may have, because a lot of it might come later.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, that testimony is not just like some magical story of how everything worked and it's just this great, wonderful thing. It's like your life. And what I'm hearing you say is it's super important to document it.
Yeah.
Not just like victories or great things, but like all of it, because there's like the Lord is interwoven through all of those things, all kinds of things that you can only get through sharing those testimonies.
Yeah. Yep. And it's
somebody's breakthrough might be dependent on that, is what you're saying.
I mean, when we think of the oyster, that pearl is only developed because of an agitation in their little system. Like that, you could look at that agitation as a trial in comparison.
And it is,
to
right?
a human.
It is a trial.
It is a trial for them. That is their trial.
Yeah.
That is their trial. And they're developing pearls through their trials.
Yeah.
That we actually value.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
that is the oyster's testimony, is that pearl that comes out.
And then the pearl
from
farmers rip it out of them and
let's
sell
not
it on
talk
a necklace.
about that.
And,
Luckily, they don't really have any.
it's capitalism. It's the bane of all existence.
Well, that'll be another show.
That's another show.
On
how capitalism is bad. I completely think capitalism is good, by the way. As long as it's done with a kingdom mindset.
Yeah.
But anyway, pearls and oysters aren't a fan of capitalism, to be honest. But the testimony you're saying is the pearl.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have existed without
the trial.
The trial that the oyster had to go through.
That's right. So the trial needs to be shared in order for that pearl to be valued even at a higher level. Right?
Prudence, that is profound.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible. So we are nice cat, and then you let him go. Oh my goodness!
He's free
Not sure if you
to
guys
die
can see
another
that on
day.
the HD that we got going on, but she captured a bug and then immediately let it go.
Well, I checked to see if it was dead.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. But what I do know is that we're out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending some time with us. We have absolutely loved this. We love doing this show. It's sometimes hard without being able to have live feedback. Like if you guys were all laughing at our jokes, that'd be helpful. But we still love the feedback, even if it's delayed. So take a second, write in, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear it. Put in the comments. That stuff is super helpful. Also, if you go over to eaglemountain.global and click on the TV button, you'll find all the other episodes of Together We Build, as well as other incredible programs. And when I say incredible programs, I'm not just saying that because it sounds good. They're really amazing. There's some awesome stuff there that you've got to check out. So I highly recommend you do that. Also, producing a 24/7 TV channel and all these shows and everything that we do to this global audience that we have is expensive. It's difficult. So we would absolutely love it if you would also click the give button, and you can support this program and all the other things that happen at Eagle Mountain by clicking that give button and putting in there, clicking the monthly button, and then putting something like, I don't know, 100 grand or something, just a monthly donation of 100 grand, just something little like that to keep us going. No, actually, for real though, every little bit helps significantly. We would really, really appreciate it if you've been blessed by this or any of the programming that we have to support us in that way. It'd be super, super awesome.
It would.
Right?
It would.
Help us be able to afford more Bigfoot feet and other things like this. All right, you guys, that's all we've got for you today. We will see you on the next one.
And go out and document your life, right?
Go out and document your life with various tools and tricks and tips.
That's right.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. See ya.